And his life was kind of in a disarray at the time. Historians now call basically the whole decade of the 30s his wilderness years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had various important cabinet positions in the government for over 20 years, and he ended up siding on the wrong side of the whole India's freedom, Gandhi, all that. He sided on the wrong side of that and basically got ousted out of the government and did not get any kind of post when the government reformed.
Is that what happened? What year was that?
This was in 31, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So way before it picks up in The Crown and they go to... Oh, they don't go to India. They got Australia.
Yeah.
Sorry. But that's Churchill in his later years.
Right.
In
yeah.
the first... Yeah.
Yeah, he was in his 80s.
Yeah, he was really old.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had incredible... He was... He stayed around for a long, long time.
I was going to say, because this is just the 30s and he's wandering.
Right.
Going down slides into the Mediterranean.
Right.
Splashing around in pools.
He was actually a good-looking guy when he was younger. There's a picture of him right here. I'll post it because he's kind of got swagger. And, I mean, as he got older, Kermit the Frog. So, I mean, I think he was bald. You know, he was probably balding by the time, you know.
He looked like John Lithgow.
Actually, yes. But he was thinner. I mean, he's not huge when you see these pictures. So, yeah, this is him and his wife in 1930. So his life was not going good. In addition to all the political setbacks, he and his wife Clementine were constantly arguing over the outrageous and irresponsible behavior of their son Randolph.
So what did she do when he came to the villa? Did she not go with him?
No, she had
didn't
no use for
those people.
Yeah, right. So she stayed at home. Actually, now they're saying that she kicked him out of their house at Chartwell. And so he had to go somewhere.
Did they ever get divorced?
They did not know.
Okay.
No, they stayed together. So,
and Maxine died in 1940.
Yes. 1942? No, it was
40.
1940. You're right. Okay.
So he hung out at her pool for a while.
Yeah. And while he was hanging out at her pool.
That was a good amount of time, though, between 33 and 40.
That's right. So he was there vacationing alone, filling his time with writing, painting, and Doris, apparently. So we don't really know the extent of their affair. It definitely was a fling. May have been an intense fling because he did paint her repeatedly during this time period. But they parted ways eventually. And so that was that. She possibly blackmailed him later on in his life. She got stranded in America in 1942, and he suddenly became very interested in getting her a flight out and getting her back to England. And most people say that he didn't probably feel that warmly toward her to go to the trouble that he did to get her out. So as I mentioned, that there were some rumors that he either had a relationship with Maxine, and there actually is a photograph of them going to play golf together in 1913.
Oh, so long before.
Yeah, they would have been, if they'd had an affair, it was when he was much younger, probably in the 19-teens, when she was probably at the height of her stage or theatrical career. You look confused.
I thought it was. Did you say Maxine? Mm-hmm. I thought that it was with Doris.
Well, they say that he might have had an affair with Maxine, and that he never had the affair with Doris. It was actually with Maxine.
Oh.
And that was how they got to be friends. By the time that she invited him to the villa, they were no longer lovers, but they had been at one point in time.
So does that make it less likely that he was with Doris if he was under the same roof of a former lover? Like, it just seems weird that
I don't know. He could have slept with both of them. Who knows?
Yeah.
He had a reputation for being famously faithful, so I don't think anybody really wants to believe that, he did this. So none of this, as I said, came out officially until the 1980s, and there was...
And who made the accusation?
So it was in 1985, Sir John Colville, who was Churchill's secretary starting in 1940, disclosed that he had an affair with Doris. But people who are against this theory say, well, he didn't start working for him until 1940. How would he have known?
How would he have known, right?
You know.
Right. And to what end? Why would that? It just seems weird that he would say that.
He says that the way he found out was that he was having tea with Winston and his wife Clementine, and a literary assistant that they knew approached Winston with love letters from Castle Ross, and it was kind of a blackmail type of situation, it sounds like, and that Clementine read them and went,
oh.
So they said that she had previously had never thought that he was ever unfaithful, so it really, messed with her. But I mean, come on now. I don't know. Women are silly. If you kick your husband out of the house, I mean, I don't know.
Women are silly.
Yeah. I can say it. I'm a woman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just don't know what the point is of bringing that up.
Yeah.
When did Churchill die?
In the 60s?
60s? That's what I thought. So why say that? Was he trying to get money or I just think that's a weird rumor.
Yeah, it is. It was an interview, and the interview was never...
And people can't like released. Someone that says that kind of thing, like right. Spreads that sort of rumor about someone that the British people respect, right? I mean, he has a good reputation or no? Well, yeah. Sorry, I'm a preservationist. I don't know a lot about Winston Churchill. I know that makes me a terrible person.
No, I mean, I know some.
Right.
The secretary who gave this interview didn't really want it put out there, and actually said, I think he requested that the interview be put basically in the archives for the foreseeable future. He did have a lot of respect for Churchill, and he didn't want it getting out. I don't know why it even came up, but yeah, it's an interesting situation because, like you say, you have apologists who say, oh no, he never did. But
sometimes the house is more interesting than the story, and sometimes the story is more interesting than the house.
Exactly.
This time I think I'm a fan of the Cote d'Azur and the house as opposed to the story.
Yeah, it's, more of it attracted a lot of scandalous people as opposed to there being an, specific scandal playing out there.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of information if you Google there's lots of different people sounding off about it.
Yeah.
Reasons for or against that it could be true. So.
Okay.
Who knows?
Well, makes for good fodder.
Indeed it does.
And I got to look at a lot of beautiful pictures of amazing villas on the Mediterranean and learn about some that I hadn't heard of. So that was pretty exciting.
We probably should have done Somerset Maugham because they had the interesting life. Oh, I didn't finish up Dear Doris.
Oh, poor Dear Doris.
Yeah. As I said, she's not exactly someone that you want to root for. But she and her husband did divorce eventually. The man who was cited as the party at fault in the divorce was a man who was famously homosexual. So apparently she had no problem. She also apparently had an affair with Cecil Beaton, who was a famous photographer and was notoriously gay.
Gay, yeah.
But she said there's no such thing as an impotent man, only an incompetent woman.
Okay, classy.
Yeah. She did not back down. When she did finally split up with her husband, she took up with a very wealthy American woman, and they were companions.
Sure.
For a while, and she basically moved around with her all the time, and that's how she ended up in America. And when she got tired with her, she ended up moving to Hollywood, where she ran around with several of the leading lights of early 1940s Hollywood. Okay. And then finally she did make it back to England, with the help of Winston Churchill, and in debt and no longer of much importance to society at the time, she ended up overdosing on sleeping pills at the Dorchester Hotel in 1942.
Oh my gosh. Wait, so she did have children?
She did not.
She did not.
No.
So that's why that's her great aunt.
Her brother.
She had a sister or a brother.
Yeah, her brother, Edward Dudley Delavine.
So she was kind of black sheep.
Yeah. I don't know what he did, but he became a sir. So he was knighted at some point.
Well, the human end of my story, I just realized I talked about what Villa Trident and what Chateau de L'Horizon looks like today.
Mm-hmm.
But not about Barry Dirks or Eric Sawyer. So Barry Dirks passed away in 1960, and his partner, Eric Sawyer, Colonel Eric Sawyer, did not die for another 25 years.
Wow.
So he passed away in 1985, and they are buried together. But yet, Sawyer had many years without Dirks. They were very handsome. Like, there's some really cool pictures of them and friends on the outer coast, and they just looked very happy together.
So I was just reading up about Cara Delevingne's lineage. So her father was Charles Delevingne, who was a wealthy property developer.
Okay.
He was born in 1949 to Dudley Delevingne, the brother of Doris.
Dudley Delevingne's son is Cara's
Father.
dad.
Yeah.
Okay. But Doris had a title. Did the others have a title?
No. So she married.
She married him.
Right.
Okay.
Although the grandfather apparently was knighted at some point in time.
Oh, that's the Sir.
Yeah.
And so Cara's father is just wealthy.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah, he was not. He was probably knighted, but it wasn't the type of title that passes down through the family. So it would have just, when he died, the title died with him.
Okay.
So that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Any reading or listening to anything interesting?
I finished The Goldfinch.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that last time?
You did talk about that.
I'm not sure I was done last time. So I finished it, and then I read another book for book club called Everything Here is Beautiful. And
I've heard of that.
I don't remember the author. So it delves into mental illness, which I've never really read a book about. So Celeste Ng blurbed it, and that meant something because Celeste, I really like her writing. I'm actually not done. I'm about halfway through. But I was also going through a really beautiful bookstore recently, and in Spartanburg, of all places.
No, the old Mason.
It's like downtown.
Yes, the old
it's
Masonic Hall.
It's in the Masonic Lodge. And so I picked up this book called The Electric Hotel. And so it's historical fiction. It says, for nearly half a century, Claude Ballard has been living at the Hollywood Knickerbocker Hotel. A French pioneer of silent films who started out as a concession agent for the Lumiere brothers, Claude now spends his days foraging mushrooms in the hills of LA and taking photographs of runaways and the striplings along Sunset Boulevard. But when a film history student comes to interview Claude about the Electric Hotel, the lost masterpiece that bankrupted him and ended the career of his muse, Sabine Montrose, the past comes surging back, and his rundown hotel suite, the ravages of the past are waiting to be excavated. Celluloid fragments and reels in desperate need of restoration, and Claude's memories of the woman who inspired and beguiled him. I just thought that sounded really cool.
Actually, it does. I'm going to put that on my list as well.
So most of the people give it 4 stars.
Yeah.
But so it's like almost a 4. It's 3.84 stars out of 5. But there's only 210 ratings, so...
Yeah.
It's not like a really popular
Well, it
book,
just came out on June 4th, so
okay.
It really hasn't had a chance to.
Sure.
So I just finished reading a book called Ghostland by Colin Dickey.
It sounds so good.
Utterly hilarious in parts, but it essentially examines the cultural significance of ghosts and hauntings. It's actually, the full title is Ghostland, an American History and Haunted Places.
I like the death's head on the cover.
Yeah.
Like, I like how it looks like a slate headstone.
It does. I actually listened to the audiobook because that's the only way that I can get through anything these days. But I literally listened to it like two days, maybe 3 days. It was that good. So he talks about a lot of like the most famous historically haunted places in the...
This sounds really good.
In the U.S. and he debunks some of them.
Yeah.
You know, and discusses why in some cases, stories are just completely made up. And it's like, why would you do this?
Yeah,
you know, particularly, I think he called out a famously haunted house in Savannah where it involves an illicit affair between a master